Hello and welcome along to your Thursday evening on Gloucester FM. If you've been listening to GFM straight through from drive time, I hope you have arrived at your destination. Nobody wants to be stuck in the car in this sweltering heat, so do keep safe in the sunshine and enjoy it as well. And we will be with you for the next hour if you've got us playing. Joining some interviews that we've pre-recorded for you, all around careers advice. So not always the thing you want to be thinking about when you're on summer holidays, but actually I think you're going to really want to listen along. We've got a really great interview coming up after the next track with somebody called Lauren Greene. I will let Lauren introduce herself in the interview, but we're going to be talking all about those careers advice opportunities that you may or may not have got at school, and listening to some opinions from some of the future youth reps about careers advice and how to make the most of those careers opportunities. So we are going to be leaping into that interview right after the next track, and this is...
Hi, it's Olivia here, and I'm about to have a chat with Lauren Greene, who is the Centre Enterprise Coordinator at the local enterprise partnership, GFirst. Thank you for talking to me today, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I mean, warm like lots of people, but yes.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you could just give me kind of a bit of a background on who you work for and what your role actually is.
Yes, so I work for GFirst LEP, which is the local enterprise partnership in Gloucestershire. So the LEP aims to promote economic growth throughout the county, and I work in the education and skills team at the LEP. So my role is to support the careers leaders and their teams in the special schools and the alternative provision schools across the county with their career strategies and programmes, and support their young people for whatever their next steps might be, whether that's paid employment or voluntary opportunities or residential settings. So yeah, whatever their next step is.
Yeah, it's so amazing we've got people like you and companies like GFirst help us out around the county. So would you please just be able to give me a few different examples of opportunities that children can expect to be offered whilst at school through GFirst?
Of course. So schools and colleges that we work with, so they have a designated careers leader who's a teacher or a member of the senior leadership team at the school who supports the school or college to work towards what is known as the 8 Gatsby benchmarks. So there are a set of standards within the careers world. So as part of these benchmarks, students should be provided with different opportunities to engage with employers, both within their education settings, as well as experiencing opportunities outside of school or college in the workplace and the wider community. So these experiences should be meaningful and tailored to each of the young people. So will look quite different across each of the settings. So some examples are things like practice interviews, visits out to the workplace, workshops in school, as well as kind of your more traditional work placements and work experience and that kind of thing. Students should also be given the opportunity to find out about what options are available to them post-16 and post-18, and a chance to engage with some of those providers. So things like college, apprenticeships, supported internships, sit forms, courses with independent training providers, T-levels and higher education if they're able to access it. So it's a whole big package around the world of careers, really.
So are all of these mandatory for schools to provide, for example, careers advisors and letting them know what's outside in the real world for people to access?
Yeah, so those 8 Gatsby benchmarks, that is a kind of a standard that schools should be working towards achieving. Not all schools in the county have got 100% yet across all 8 of those benchmarks, but that is what they are expected to be working towards.
Super, thank you. So what do you think are some of the main benefits that a good careers package can offer to a student? And are there any skills and knowledge that can be learned and provided through these?
Mm-hmm. So in life, I guess, we don't know what we don't know. So a good careers programme should just open the eyes of our young people to what is out there and what is possible. And the schools and colleges should give our young people the chance to engage with these opportunities. And I think it's just important for our young people to find out what they don't like as much as what they do like, so they can cross those things off the list. I was talking to a local employer the other day who was chatting with me about soft skills and how important they are in the workplace. And then she said that the term soft skills didn't really do them any justice, and the term power skills should be used instead. And I think that was brilliant. I love that. So our young people, should be supported to acknowledge and develop these power skills and understand how they can be applied across different job roles and different industry areas, which can include, voluntary work and kind of wider community activity as well. So it's not just about those job-specific skills; it's about those kind of wider power skills as well.
So do most students find that these power skills, I'd say they may not have before, or they aren't as big as they need to be or as strong as they need to be? Do most people find that when they have access to these career opportunities and, these career packages, that often, say, confidence, for example, does increase quite often, so they're quite useful?
Yeah, absolutely. If they can find something that they really enjoy doing, then that, like you say, confidence and those other power skills will improve just naturally. And I think the more experiences like that we can provide our young people with, and through employer encounters and whatever it might be, the more experiences that they can have, the more likely they are to improve those different skills, whether they recognise it at the time or not. Sometimes it's a reflection piece after they've taken part in the activity.
Yeah. So do you think that young people should just wait around for careers opportunities, or do you think there's any way that they can try and access it to help themselves?
Yeah, so what I would say is, talk to people. So, your young people will find, like to find that there's a wealth of knowledge in like their kind of spheres that they already live in. So if they talk to their family, friends, just their people that they know through extracurricular activities, they will find out about kind of the world of work and what people just naturally do and skill sets that they have. And I know some of the ways that, you can enter a profession now has changed potentially since those people trained, because there's new qualifications and that kind of thing, but it doesn't take away from the fact that, they are still doing that job and they are still, encountering that industry area and that kind of thing. So yeah, talk, find out, and just delve a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. So as a SEND Enterprise Coordinator, do you have any advice for young people who may worry that their additional needs or disabilities or anything else like that might make it quite difficult for them to find a suitable job through workplace? Do they think they'll find it challenging? What advice do you have?
So I say don't be afraid to tell an employer, what you need to make the workplace accessible for you. We don't want employers assuming what they think you need. So it's important to tell them what support or adjustments you do actually need to do the job fully. And as part of that, find out which companies locally are disability confident, as this will certainly help kind of with job searching as well. So those employers have signed up to become disability confident and make the labour market so much more easily accessible to those who have a disability of some kind. There are other organisations out there who can support those with a disability and with job searching in general. So things like Forwards Gloucestershire through the County Council, and also the government's access to work funding can help and support with providing people support as well as job searching support as well.
So was it disability confident, you said? So I've never heard about this, so I'm going to ask a question, quite a personal one. How do you find out if one is registered disability confident?
Yeah, so there's a list online essentially, so you can search for disability confident employers, and it will show you the list of all the different employers that have signed up. So some have started the process and have pledged to become disability confident, right the way through to different employers that are kind of leaders in the field and already disability confident and kind of showcasing the work that they're doing within the world of disability employment. So yeah, those companies have pledged to say, yeah, absolutely, we will do what we can within the world of disability employment. So there is that resource out there.
Yeah, super. Thank you so much. I've personally learned so much, and I'm sure everyone else has as well. So I mean, you have already mentioned a few resources, but do you have any more, like websites, upcoming events, any more resources that you'd like to signpost us and listeners to?
So I'd say probably the Forwards Gloucestershire is the big one that's got a lot of the information in it locally within Gloucestershire. So that's forwardsgloucestershire.co.uk is that website to find out what that support is locally. So I'd say that's the biggie. That's your best bet.
Super. Thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Lauren from GFirst, for talking to Olivia not long ago about careers advice and the careers strategies that we all should be getting at school and college, no matter where we go for our education, and finding out those crucial ways in which the LEP can support our teachers to deliver us with the careers advice that we want and need. And thank you so much, Olivia, for being an excellent interviewer as always. Now, Olivia is one of our youth reps, and I also am going to share with you after the next track some reflections and thoughts from two of the other Future Me youth reps, James and Robin. So we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth after the next track about what their experiences of careers advice were. Did they have a practice interview? Have they been to any jobs fairs? All that kind of thing. So we're going to be getting into that conversation right after the next track. Now that we've heard from Lauren Greene about careers advice in specialist schools and alternative provisions, we thought it'd be really nice just to have a chat more about what it feels like to have your careers advice, or to do a practice interview, or to go out to visit employers when you've never done it before. I'm really pleased that I've got Robin and James joining me from the Future Me Youth Rep team to do just that. So welcome along both. Thanks for coming back to chat with me a bit more on a different topic. I wanted to ask, to kick things off, what sort of careers experiences did you have at either your school or college or sixth form? So by that I mean, did you ever do a practice interview? Did you ever have an employer come to talk to you? Did you get sent on a week of work experience? That kind of thing.
At my school, we had practice interviews. I still remember them to this day. Very nerve-wracking because, I'd say, I'm pretty sure everybody, when they've had the first interview, you don't forget them. Even the practice ones, it's still the nerves were there, and just. But thankfully, they were very low key. There wasn't masses of pressure, and they gave me the option to do it multiple times if I felt I needed it, because it was very evident that the stress was high. So once I completed the several attempts I did, I'd actually tried it, because I knew that if I hadn't, I would have then had no idea what to expect when I started doing them for real later on in my years. As for for if we had any employers come in, we did have, I think, at least several employers come in, both from when I was at school and also at college, ranging from large companies to small private firms. As for week placements, I've done several things before, such as doing basic community related service things, or something I did a lot longer, which was for about a year, doing voluntary work at a IT recycling company. And then I also spent a year doing voluntary work as a graphic designer for my local youth club, as a way to give back to them for all the years of support they gave me.
You've got a package of experiences there, James. So
yeah, as I like to say, I've been around the block.
I'm going to come back to that in a minute about how they all come together, volunteering with more short-term things. But before I do, I'm just going to ask Robin about your experiences. Robin, what did you have in terms of careers advice?
Yeah, practice interviews. So we went to a careers fair at sixth form. I found that it was all found it quite difficult, because they're all those kind of normal jobs, and there wasn't anything like, you didn't have to have all of the skills. There wasn't really anything out there for people with additional needs, I don't think. So it wasn't really a good experience for me, as I felt like there wasn't really anything out there. It was interesting, but I suppose if there had been something like Future Me there, then I probably would have thought, oh yeah, I could see myself doing that. that there is something out there for people with additional needs.
I guess the work you do with us is quite specific, but I'm picking up it's the reasonable adjustment. So when you work with us, we've got flexibility around your hours and where you work. You can work from home if you need to. And we've also got an appreciation of those reasonable adjustments that you might need. So the positive thing to know is that other employers, not just us, will have that. Maybe you didn't feel like you saw any of that at the careers fairs that you went to, but certainly my message to people would be, don't be afraid to ask. So if you're at a careers fair, I know it would be daunting to ask, but sort of say, what are the reasonable adjustments you offer, and are you a disability confident employer? And they should be, really. So there's certainly a lot to be hopeful for, and also a lot of programs that help transition between education and employment. So if you were to think that going straight into a sort of paid job might be, that is a leap too far, it's good to know about things like supported internships with Forwards Employment and other providers as well. There are sort of ways you can start into a paid job where it's not kind of all or nothing. I'm sorry to hear that you didn't find it that rewarding, Robin. Did you ever find sort of work experience or volunteering placements that were helpful? I've worked at the Cheltenham Animal Shelter. That was really good for me. I volunteer at the my local library parent and toddler group, and those were really useful for me, volunteering places. No, it's definitely a really good way of having a go at how it feels to be given responsibility in something that's like a workplace. Obviously, we'd all like to get paid for the work we do, but there are other benefits to volunteering as well, aren't there, beyond that, and that's why people do it, and giving back to the community. But I know for sure that I have done some volunteering in the past, and it does help with your CV writing and with interviews, because if you asked in an interview, give an example of when you've worked in a team. If you've worked as a volunteer, then you will have, so you've got that to pull on in an interview. So it's really worth considering having a go at volunteering.
When it comes to employers, they do really favour those who have done voluntary work, and also the fact it shows them that you, like you said previously, you have experience in the workplace, you understand it. And also for me especially, it gave me, especially when I did some more very relevant volunteering, like working as a graphic designer for my youth club, it gave me those experiences of having one-to-one client conversations, working to a brief, having back and forth conversations about any adjustments to the designs, and also basically just getting to understand your subject that you're working with. It's a math subject, and also it gave me an appreciation of what goes on other than just what I do, to see, it's all well and good knowing what we're doing, but knowing what other people are going to do in order for them to give me the right stuff. It's just good to understand that and see that appreciation, because then you know how all the cogs in the machine work, in a sense.
Yeah, and it's also from a practical point of view, it gives you someone you can ask to be a reference, which is really important for applying for jobs. You normally asked for 2 references, and I think when you're young and setting out, it's more than acceptable for one of them to be like a teacher or a head of year or something like that. But having someone who's worked with you when you volunteered is really helpful, or from your work experience, because it's a more professional relationship. So really helpful to have that person to vouch for you as well. So on that note, I wondered whether you'd both be willing to share if there was anything in particular that helped you towards your first paid employment. Was it having that volunteer reference, or was it, what was it?
I would say what helped me, that's as well, having that prior experience with doing things in voluntary wise, especially with the graphic design work. Also, when I was applying for my first paid job, which was with Future Me, when the offer was being asked about possible adjustments to be made to make it made it easier, like reasonable adjustments, obviously, not going to it. And those did help quite a lot with me, especially in the interviewing process. But really for me, the biggest thing that helped me was having that prior experience as a volunteer, of understanding the industry I was wanting to go into. not only just from the practical skills, but also the social and also communication skills for working in a team, and also just learning how to collaborate with one another, because that was a very massive skill for me, especially in the job role I'm in.
And yourself, Robin?
Yeah, I think for me it was kind of looking up what Future Me was all about, and then prepared myself. I had practiced all of my questions beforehand, put together what I was going to do in the presentation, and I had lots of practice interviews with kind of friends and family. I think that really helped me to kind of prepare.
Preparation is key, isn't it, for an interview? And
yeah,
you might feel a bit strange reading out your questions and practice answers with a family member, but I think if they're willing to help you, then definitely take the opportunity, practice getting ready, and give yourself plenty of time. So whether that's you've got to join an online meeting, sort of checking that that's all set up, or if you've got to travel somewhere for an interview, practice the journey and where I've got to go. There's never too much preparation, I think, is what I'm trying to say. You guys are a testament to it, because you both were successful. And it's been a real pleasure working with you both over the last 2 years. So thanks very much for sharing that. I hope it will be helpful for anyone listening who maybe is yet to get their first paid job, or they're feeling a bit overwhelmed by careers advice in general. I think if you sort of are led by your interests and what you think you'd like to do, and you work hard, the rest should fall into place. I'd like to say thank you to James and Robin, of course, for talking with me about their experiences of getting their first job and careers advice. It's not always an easy path, but hopefully their example shows that it really can happen. And even if you've never had a paid job before, just with the right amount of endurance of your efforts and support, and just keeping trying, you will get there. Now, just before we play our next track, I did want to just say a little bit about the Employment and Skills Hub, which you may not have heard of, but we heard earlier from Lauren, didn't we, from the GFirst LEP, and GFirst have teamed up with the County Council here in Gloucestershire to manage the Employment and Skills Hub. So it's a central source of information all about skills and employment. So the hub will increase, it includes the access to specialist coaches who can work with you, and that they can help you find the right information or link you onwards to the next organisation that might help you. So they're a really good way, good people to contact who maybe then be able to sort of send you onwards to the service you might need. So definitely look up the Gloucestershire Employment and Skills Hub. It will take you to a County Council webpage, and from there lots of links to useful information.